Chapter 23. We're going to hopefully find out what is in the letters. There are 5 letters. 2 of them are from his phone provider, one confirming his request to end the contract and one informing him the contract has ended. 2 are from his bank, one that says he is €1,300 overdrawn, and the other that says he has been charged for the overdraft. I stare at the letters, remembering those incredibly dull dreams I had. Are these the errands I was mindlessly accompanying Aaron on? Branham, Fiona screeches. Aaron's last name is Branham. I gaze at the address on the letters, absolutely stunned by this realization. Aaron M. Barnum, apartment 44, Elysian Quarter, Denmark Street, Kilbeg. Looking at it makes me sick, for reasons I can't fully explain, but that Fiona can enunciate perfectly. Aaron's last name can't be Brannan. It's too normal. His last name should be Hitler or Satan. What does M stand for? Esif? Douche? Okay, well, don't know. The last letter is the jackpot in terms of the binding spell and in the more traditional sense of the word. The envelope has an American postmark from California, and inside it is a smaller sealed envelope. That smaller envelope has an address that ends Yuba City, California, CA. And when we open it, 5 $100 bills slide out. Fiona lets out a long, low whistle. Holy crap, she squeals. He's overdrawn and cancelling his phone contract, but he's sending away $500. I shake my head, unable to put it together. Not 5, Fiona continues. Not 50, 500. Read the letter, Lily says. We read the letter. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Madison, I write this in full expectation that you will burn this letter without reading it. And in your situation, perhaps I will do the same. As you may know from my parents, who I believe still attend your church. I have been in Europe for the last few years, spreading the word of God and attempting to atone for my sins. While I know that I am never expect your forgiveness, I do hope that the enclosed will help express my continuing and most sincere regret for what occurred at the Twin Pines. Not a day passes without my including Matthew in my prayers. I realize that to hear from me now, after so many years of silence, must come as a surprise. But recent developments in my own life, and perhaps a maturing generally, have made me understand that we are in a better control of our own destinies than I had thought. Yours faithfully, Aaron Michael Branham. Why, says Fiona, who is the first person to finish reading the Americans always refer to as a country over here, as Europe, like it's one land mass. He's been in Ireland. Say that. I look mutually at the letter, reading it again and again, trying to fit it with an Aaron I know. There's so much to take in. It seems obvious that Matthew person has died, and that Aaron was responsible, but there's more here too. Doors that open into the whole world of impossible sadness. Like, why isn't he sure his parents attend the same church as the Madisons? Someone who loves God this much would know that for a fact, wouldn't they? Clearly, that relationship has also dissolved, and then there's Aaron preaching about the importance of family. Twin Pines, Fiona says. What's that? It's a facility for weirdos, Lily answers. We Google it. She's pretty much correct. It is a centre for troubled youths. How did you know that? I asked Lily. Because that's what they all sound like. I found the brochures in my mum's glove box. Restful pastures, crystal waters. Why does your mum? But then I stopped myself. Then wanted to send you somewhere? She shrugs. They must have. They definitely sent away for brochures at the same point. I shudder at the thought. Lily locked away in some kind of institution. Imagine. Then I realized that Aaron, at one time or another, must have been locked away in some kind of institution. And that is even harder to imagine. We need to take this to Nuala and Manon, Fiona says. This has everything right. This has everything right. It's a return to sender, so the envelope inside will be covered in his spit and things, and the money which would have been riding around in his pockets for ages, the handwriting, his name. I join in, his full name in his own hand. I'm suddenly transported back to February, when Rue almost kissed me by the Beg River and told me his name instead. He said that real witches knew things by their true names. Why didn't they take the money? Lily wonders aloud. They sent the whole thing back unopened. They didn't want to know. So he did something bad, enough to go into institution, Vi says, and then he killed someone while he was there. He seems to feel quite bad about it, Lily counters. Well, yeah, I respond. Thou shalt not kill, right? Pretty big deal if you are into God. And if you are not into God, says Lily, it's still a pretty big deal. I had a dream, I suddenly remembered. All right, Mr. King, Fiona says. Now I rattle my brain trying to remember. He was getting hundreds out of the ATM. I was watching him like I was in his memories. Lily examines the bills again. I must have been a while ago. These have been across the Atlantic and back. Yeah, I murmur, not sure what this means. Nuala is waiting outside school for us on Thursday. She's shut the divination early and has her sunglasses on. She doesn't look directly at the building, instead peers into the take-away coffee in her hands. Lean against the hatchback. We step out the main entrance and suddenly Sister Assumptia is next to me, hunched and gripping the rail. Is that little Fionella Evans over there, Maeve? I look at her in shock. Since when does Sister Assumptia even know my name? Or Nuala's, for that matter. It is Sister. She had a baby with a Frenchman, Sister Assumptia says, then disappears back inside. Did everyone know except us? Fiona says. We climb into Nuella's car and she says nothing about the fact that Rue isn't with us. Something tells me that she could read between the lines the last night we were at her house and is sympathetic and unsurprised. Is Manon still at your house, Nuella? Fiona asks searchingly. She is, love. And, how old is Manon, Nuella? A brief pause as Nuella makes a turn. She's 20. Right, so. I was 25. And her father. That's all you're getting, Fiona. Nuella says it firmly, and Fiona doesn't say another thing. I feel a bit guilty. I always thought Nuella was older, mid-50s at least, but she's only 25, maybe because my parents are the age, and in my head that's just how old adults are. Maybe it's because Nuella always gives the impression of having lived several lives, which apparently she has. And so has Aaron. Aaron, whose shape in my head has already started to change. How old is he? Who was he when he was Aaron Michael Braunham? Did he really feel bad about this Matthew kid? Or is it just another one of his schemes? When we get to Nuella's, Manon is sitting on the back porch smoking a rolled cigarette. She nods when she sees us, and I can see Fiona almost quaking with intrigue. Fiona, who feels so starved of glamour in Kilbeg, can't believe that a person who's obviously glamorous has plopped down into it. We think we have what we need, Fiona volunteers, to bind Aaron. We lay everything out on the kitchen table. The $100 bills, the letters, the envelopes. Manon studies all of them in silence. I think what this requires, she says thoughtfully, is a soft bind. Surely we want a hard bind, I interject, despite not knowing the difference between one or the other. One, he can't break. I think perhaps it will be dangerous for this person to be too hard bound. This letter was not written very long ago, she says, and he is clearly in a great anguish, or so. A bind is a difficult thing. We are binding his will, and that can be traumatic. He may be too fragile if he finds his magic useless. He may take his own life. The frankness with which she says this is dazzling. He's trying to destroy Kilbeg, says Fiona. Surely whatever he gets, we don't know what he is doing. We just know that he's involved. Manon sighs softly, turning over the American bills. So the reverse side are all faced up, and people do things they regret. Nuella places a pot of steaming tea on the table. People leave their children, Manon says. And then Nuella starts talking loudly about cherry cake. Manon doesn't seem to listen and falls into silence again. As she studies Aaron's letters, he is on the run, she says finally. He has cut off his phone. He has taken everything out of his bank in cash. See, it says here, cash withdrawals. I responded so. So if we leave him defenseless from whoever he is running from, it could be fatal. and whatever harm we inflict, it will return to us times 3. Karma. I thought that was an old wives' tale, says Fiona dismissively. The only people I listen to, Manon says, the hint of a smile on her face, are old wives. We must bear in mind that what happened in heaven, Nuella says softly, and it takes a moment for me to understand what she means. Heaven killed her father with the housekeeper and died herself into the bargain. That apparently was a fair deal to her. I hate Aaron, but not enough to die myself. The spell Manon comes up with is beautiful, and I can see why Nuella thinks so highly of her as a witch. She teaches us all to fold the $100 bills into origami sailboats. Finn, can you bring out the sugar water, please? Manon unzips her vanity case of oils. The sugar water has been soaked in moonlight for 2 nights. Now I think it will be ready and strong enough. She peers into the case. I think we will use lavender for this. This idea is that every fold and crease is lined with a thin streak of lavender oil, dabbed on by each of us with a cotton swab. The bills are then dunked in the water, covered and left overnight. Sugar to sweeten the lavender, to calm, she clarifies. The letter with his signature, signed name, is placed in the sugar water first, and I watch it wilt slowly to the bottom of the bowl. Manon writes a chant out for us, Fiona watching it intently. It must be hard rhythm or rhyming in your second language, she says. Manon murmurs in agreement. If it is your second language, she clarifies, it is. Manon doesn't say a thing, and as I watch Fiona, watching her, I realize something I might have realized much sooner if I had my gifts about me. Fiona has a crush on Nuella's daughter. Here is the spell, Manon announces, and pushes it to the center of the table. Aaron Michael Branham, we bind you with respect from all the evil you may do to pay for your regret. Aaron Michael Branham, we bind you but we bless your magic for escaping danger, or those who are in distress. We ask for your understanding. We ask for your trust. Please know that in this binding we only want we must. Please know that in this binding we do only what we must. It's long, Manon says, semi-apologetically. Take some time to memorize it. Manon, my magic is still faded, I say, embarrassed. Will I sit the spell out? She shakes her head firmly. No, as long as you have intention and sensitivity, you are still an important part of the spell. And so we get to work. We cast a purified circle a purified circle around the kitchen floor in salt, and we start chanting, unfolding, dubbing and singing. The lavender oil on the bills has been done carefully, each of us with our own little brown bottle and swab, trying to keep up the chant as we sing Aaron's full name over and over, with every verse, with every fold. I can feel the glimmer of my sensitivity still shining from the bottom of me. Tiny tendrils of my magic, faded but not yet invisible, start to unfurl themselves like a plant in the morning sunlight. Yes, I coo, like I'm calling a frightened chicken. Yes, come on out. For the first time in a long time, I feel the band energy of the spell working, looping itself around all 5 of us, 5 women, to gently, diligently bind a toxic man. And as I say his name again and again, Aaron Michael Brannan, Aaron Michael Brannan, and Aaron Michael Brannan, the fragile strands of my magic start to conjure him. I see him as a baby, as a boy, as a teenager. They are brief visions, ghosts only. And I know I'm not inventing them, because I'm surprised by how he looks. I'm surprised that he was pudgy at 15. Fat. I am surprised by his glasses. He looks so ordinary, so untouched by the stains of hatred. And for the first time, I get my mother said that it was important to understand people we hate, to understand that everyone was someone's child once, and that something dreadful must have happened to make them sick. Please know that in this binding we do only what we must. Please know that in this binding we only do what we must. Why is he on the run? Did he leave the children? How in such a short time did he go from being their number 1 spokesperson to fleeing the apartment they gave him? We each finish our lavender boats at the same time, and we look at Manon for guidance. Set your spell out on a soft sea, and let sweet winds only blow your way, she says, and we each put our $100 bill on the surface of the sugar water. Lily can't help but zap the water lightly as she touches it, jolting each boat with a light ripple of power. The spell is over, and I look at Fiona, Lily, Nuella, and Manon to see that a pinkish golden glow has come over all of them, each of them beautiful, each of them radiant. Immediately I know that Manon was right. I know that spells cast in cruelty only pay in kind, and that every piece of magic you call on has to be done for the right reason, or reasons. Wait a second, I say, suddenly panicked. We didn't sacrifice anything. You have to give big to get big, right? Pet, Nuella says, chuckling. We just bought ourselves $500 worth of magic. I hope it works, Fiona says thoughtfully. I could have really used that $500. Wow. Well, we all could do with some extra money, especially in the festive season. I hope you enjoyed the chapter 23. Take care, stay safe and be blessed. Please like and share. Thank you.